Presets are a powerful tool used to automate entry of the examination. To get started, I'm going to go from my overview page to today's note, and then from here I can click on the exam button, which opens up a menu of all of my systems for exam. Every exam documentation form has a preset drop-down box at the top of the form. When you open an exam form, it defaults with a preset of default. The default preset is what do you want, how do you want the fields on this form answered when you open up this form if it knows nothing else. There are three really important presets that you want to be familiar with, and you want to take time at the beginning of configuring the program to set so that it automates your entry of your examination. The default, complete exam, and normals. So at the top of every exam form, there is a preset selection. To change any preset, you simply select the preset, you enter the data. So for example, if my default, if I want it to be no JVD, I select the data that I want in my default, and then I click the Save Preset button. In this case, do I want to create a new preset, or do I want to update the existing preset? I want to update the currently selected preset, which is my default. So I'll click Save. Now, having done that, every time I open up the exam form, it will default to no JVD. Every form, that needs to be done on every form. So you need to go through every exam form to make sure that the defaults are the way you want them. Now, they're set up the way we think you want them, but if you find that every time you open a hard exam form or any form that you are regularly having to change something, that means that your defaults aren't set the way you want them to be. So again, the way that you do that is you simply open up the form that you want. I'll choose chest exam. By default, it's going to select the default preset. You choose the values that you want set by default, and then you click the Save Preset button and you update the currently selected preset, which is the default. So again, there are three critical presets that you want to be familiar with. The first is default, which says when I open the form, here's how I want all of the questions on this form to be answered without me having to click anything. The second preset that you want to become familiar with is the complete exam. The difference between the complete exam preset and the default preset is that typically in a routine complete physical examination, you're going to answer more questions, you're going to examine more than you would on let's say, a follow-up visit or an acute visit. So basically your default is, this is what, whenever I do a chest exam, this is how I always want it to be answered. But then if I'm doing a complete exam like a physical, then I also want to address these other things. And it works exactly the same way as a default. You select the preset complete exam, you answer the questions that you want to be included in that, and then you click the Save Preset button and you update the existing preset. The system will, of course, allow you to create your own presets, and you want to do that as you become familiar with this system. There are certain symptoms or certain diagnoses that you're dealing with that routinely have different answers or different questions that you're addressing and different answers you expect, results you expect to find in the examination. Well, you want to set those and create your own preset so that you can simply select it as a preset. So in this example, I can go ahead and just choose, I'll ignore the qualifiers for a moment. I'll go ahead and just choose a couple of things here. And then having done that, I want to create a new preset out of that. So I've answered these questions one time. I think I'm going to use this again and again. And I don't want to have to answer all those questions again and again, so I will create a new preset. When I do that, I give it a name. And now what it's doing is it's associating all of the answers that I just did with that name. And so now for any patient at any time, I can choose that preset and it's going to select those answers. So presets are very powerful automation tools. So the three critical presets that you want to be familiar with are the default, complete exam, and then also there is a normal preset. The normal preset, that is this one, that tells the system when I click on a within normal limits button, how do I want it to answer these questions? If I don't want, let's say, pursed lipped, I don't want that included in my effort when I click on within normal limits. That's fine. I'll just choose unspecified, and then I will update that preset, which is my normals, and now I can blank this out, start with nothing, and then I'll click on within normal limits, and notice now pursed lip is not answered because I excluded it from my normals preset. So normals works just like any other preset. It's a special preset, but it's what do you want answered in any section where there's a within normal limits button. When you click on that button, how do you want it answered? And there are going to be some questions that you never address. And so in your case, when you click on within normal limits, if you never address it, instead of having to manually click unspecified every time, just change your normal preset. After you've gone through all of the examination forms and established your default preset and your complete exam preset, which are two presets that you want to take a look at for all of your systems that you examine, now you want to be thinking about building profiles. It's a real powerful way to automate your documentation. What is a profile? A profile is simply a selection of presets. So if I go back to my patient and I want to look at an exam profile, I can click on the exam button. I'll click on exam profile, and then I'll go to my profile manager. It gives me a list of the profiles I've previously created. Plus at the top, there's a previous visit profile that's always available that allows you to pull over the data from an examination the last time you saw this patient, or maybe last year, whenever. It will treat that data like a profile. So I have user-defined profiles, previous visit, automated profiles, but now I've got my profile manager. And here's how a profile works. A profile is a selection. It's basically a selection of presets. So I can pull up any profile that I want. I'll do CPE mail. All right, in this case, I've got what forms do I want included in this profile, and then for each of them, what is the preset that's in that form that I want selected. And so in this way, I can create a profile, a powerful grouping of presets that I can select with one click. There are three ways to select a profile. You can select a profile manually. That is, after you've created a profile, you can manually select it from the menu. You can link a profile to a problem. So I have a diabetes profile, a physical exam profile. You can link a profile to any common problem or family of problems that you see. You can also link a profile to an appointment type. So going back to my profile manager, once I have created a profile, and I can create a brand new one, so I'll just go up to the top, say create a new profile. Go up to the top, say create a new profile. I'll give it a name, whatever you want to call it. You can assign it to a particular gender if you want to. And then you simply select what forms do you want included in this profile, and then what specific preset do you want it to use for this profile. And that's it. So having done that, now if I save this, my profile, my special profile, is going to be on my menu. Now you can also create a categorize these, so you have a menu of these. So if you have 5 different varieties of well-visit CPE profiles, you can categorize them, and it will let you create your own category of them. Now, having created this profile, now again, I can select it manually, and the way I select it manually is I simply go from my exam button, I go to exam profile, and then I select it from the menu. And that one is going to be right there. And that selects my profile. And with that, my note is generated. From here, of course, this is just a starting point. So from here, I would go to open up the specific forms and make changes that are patient specific. All right, so I selected that profile manually. Now, what's even more powerful than that is to take my profile and link it. I'll go to my profile manager. I will select the one we just created. And now I can link that to either a diagnosis category or to an appointment type. So if I link it to, let's say I want to link it to diabetes, for example, I select any diabetes code, and it doesn't matter at this point what the specific code is, because it's going to link it to the category or the family that code is in. And then it asks me, do I want to link this profile to the diabetes group of diagnoses? So if I said yes there, then every time I select diabetes, it will automatically select this profile for me. Similarly, I can link this profile to an appointment type. So if this were a physical exam a profile I created for a physical exam, I would click link to appointment type. I would select my appointment type. I'll say complete physical exam. And then it asks me, do I want to link this appointment type to my complete physical exam? Now, if I say yes, then every time I open up a patient's record, in their chart, their visit, and the appointment type is what I selected, then it's automatically going to execute this profile. It will allow you to have a different profile, especially in the case of a physical exam, a different profile for a male and a female. So in that case, if I had selected male or female, I selected gender here, then when I link it to an appointment type, it knows that this only applies to females or this only applies to males. But with that, those are the 3 ways to link a profile to either to select a profile. You can either select it manually, you can link it to a group of problems, or you can link it to an appointment type. Now, why do we want to do all that? The reason we want to do all that is because having set that up at the beginning makes this so powerful that all I have to do is click on the patient in the schedule, and if it's linked to an appointment type, it's automatically going to give me a really good starting point in my note by documenting my exam based on the profile. If I don't do it on the basis of an appointment type, but I do it on the basis of my problem category, then when I select a problem, it will automatically import that exam profile into my note. And again, what does that do? It gives me a really good starting point for my note, and then from there I can simply make changes. That's the power of presets and profiles to automate documentation of your exam.